Now, they were trying to give us the background of the king, Joachim, that was reigning when they were captured. He was also from a royal family. Láti ilé ìdílé ọba láti bí òun náà. Ṣùgbọ́n ọmọ ọdún mélòó ni nígbà tó bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí jọba? 25 years. So he was a young person. Ọ̀dọ́ pọ́nbélé ni. He was a very young person. Ó sì jọba fún ọdún mọ́kànlá kó tó di wípé ìjì tó wá àwọn yẹn ó ṣe kíni o, ó dìde sí wọn. So he reigned for 11 years before eventually the Lord handed them over. Actually, they've been backsliding for a long period of time before he came to his own time. But because when he came in as the king, what he was supposed to do, he did not do. He was supposed at that time to correct all of the errors of the kings who have reigned before him. Ṣẹ́mọ̀, tó bá tẹ̀ jẹ́ pé àwọn tó ti ń ṣe tẹ́lẹ̀ bá ṣe tí ò dáa. Nígbà tí òun débẹ̀ yẹn kí ni nǹkan tó yẹ kó ṣe o? Àwọn àṣìṣe tí àwọn tí wọ́n tó bá ń bẹ̀ ti ṣe, ó yẹ kó ń ṣe kí ni kó ń ṣe àtúnṣe rẹ̀. But he started building on those faults and those mistakes that those former kings, the errors they committed. Instead of making amendments and bringing about change in the city, he was building on it. And now let's go to chapter 24 and now verse 2. The same 2 Kings 24 verse 2. And let's see what the Bible says. Okay, let's go ahead and read it together now again. And the Lord sends against him raiding bands of Chaldeans. These Chaldeans are still also being known as the Babylonians. Okay, now let's go ahead again. Syrians, bands of Moabites, and bands of the people of Ammon. He sent them against which city? Judah. To do what? To destroy it according to the word of the Lord, which he has spoken by his servants, the prophets. According to the word of the Lord, which he has spoken by his servant, the prophet. Don't forget, we said something last week. We said that they were taken into captivity was a divine what?
A divine arrangement. God permitted it. So which means God was intentional about it. God was deliberate about it. Ọlọ́run mọ̀ gbà wọ́n láàyè.
Ọlọ́run mọ̀ gba ìṣẹ̀lẹ̀ yẹn láàyè láti kó wọn lọ sí eko ẹrú nítorí àwọn àìṣedéédé wọn. Then I remember a question now came up last week that what Nigeria was passing or is passing through now, can we say it is divine arrangement? Say, Alice, Ọlọ́run ló ṣe kíni o, Ọlọ́run ló gbà láàyè. That the Fulanis are now tormenting us, they are frustrating us, they have breached every security architecture put in place. Can we say it is divinely arranged? So bring back Nigeria onto the path of righteousness. And we thank God for so many responses that we brought last week. So today we are going to continue. Let's now open to Daniel chapter 1. Daniel chapter 1, verse 1 to verse 5. And we are going to read it together. Can we go together now? In the 3rd year of the reign of Joachim, king of Judah. What is the name of that king now? Nebuchadnezzar, king of where? Of Babylon. Came to Jerusalem and did what? And besieged it. And of course, when I explained last week that the meaning of besiegement is not that they come
just for 1 month, just for 2 months. They have mounted that besiegement for like 2-3 years. More than sometimes you could last up to like 14-15. It depends on when they have been incapacitated, when they have been internally weakened. Nígbà tí wọ́n bá rí pé gbogbo agbára òsì fún wọn kò sí okun fún wọn mọ́, ìtí wọ́n ń pè ní nǹkan tí a ń pè ní kéèyàn bí sídì. My second lecturer has come.
Ìtí wọ́n ń pè ní besiegement ni wípé wọ́n á kó àwọn ogun wọn, àwọn olórí ogun wọn, wọ́n á kó irinṣẹ́ ogun, wọ́n á kó ọkọ̀ ogun, wọ́n á kó kẹ̀kẹ́ ogun, àwọn ohun ìjà wọ́n á kó lọ, wọ́n á wá yí ìlú yẹn po. Now, they will not allow anybody access into the city, and they will not allow anybody access outside the city. They will not allow anybody to escape out of the city. Now, the essence of that is to make sure that they will not be able to farm, and every economy will have to do what? Will collapse. So now in that stanza 2, The Bible is saying, and the Lord gave Joachim, king of Judah, into his what? Into his hand, with some of the articles of the house of God. They came into the Judah, of course, into Jerusalem. They came into the temple, and every items that they have, that temple happens to be their pride. They believe that in as much as that temple is still in existence, no battle could come into that city to do what? To plunder it. Wọ́n ti gbàgbọ́ pé nígbà tí temple yẹn bá sì wà, kò sí nǹkan kan tí ogun tó lè wọnú ìlú Judah láti kó. Because that temple to them represented the what? The presence of God. Wọ́n believe pé látìgbà tí Solomon ti kọ́ temple yẹn, tó dẹ̀ ti ṣe nǹkan tá ń pè ní ìyàsímímọ́ rẹ̀, the dedication of it. They believe that the presence of God has descended into that temple, and that the presence of God in that temple will never allow any external enemy or any external aggressor to come into that city to do what? To capture them. So it was something they were not planning for. They were not expecting it at all. So that explains why so easily after that besiegement, Nebuchadnezzar was able to easily capture them. It became so easy for them because it was divinely arranged. Ó jẹ́ kó rọrùn fún wọn láti ṣe nítorí pé ọwọ́ Ọlọ́run ṣe kíni o, ọwọ́ Ọlọ́run wà níbẹ̀. Torí tá a bá ka ẹsẹ̀ kejì yẹn dáadáa, Bíbélì sọ nígbà ó ní ẹsẹ̀ kejì ó ní, and the Lord gave Joachim, king of Judah, into his hands. Ẹ já ka Yorùbá. Ẹ já ka Yorùbá. Ta ló gbé Yorùbá Bible dání? Olúwa sì fi Joachim ọba lé lọ́wọ́ pẹ̀lú apá kan ohun èlò ilé Ọlọ́run tí ó kó lọ sí ibo ilẹ̀ Sinari, sí ilé òrìṣà rẹ̀. Ó sì kó ohun èlò náà wá sí inú ilé ìṣúra òrìṣà rẹ̀. So that was a serious desecration that has happened to the house of God. It was a serious, and it was intentional. He deliberately did that to rubbish the God of Israelites. Ó máa ṣe yẹn láti kí ni o, láti dójú ti Ọlọ́run àwọn ọmọ Israeli. Ó wò wípé what the highest kind of humiliation he can give to them was to carry all of those things, enter into the temple of God, and do what? And move those items. Move them now, not to his house, but now to the house of his what? Of his idols. So it was a slight on the people of Israel, on the people of Judah. And now, maybe when we get to a particular stage in the teaching, then I'll begin to draw up some of the things that are so strong in my own heart when I was studying that Bible passage. So give us verse 3 now. Give us verse 3 before we continue. And the king spake unto Aspenaz, the master of his eunuchs, that he should bring certain of the children of Israel and of the king's seed and of the princes. Verse 4, children in whom was no blemish, but well favored and skillful in all wisdom. These people, they have known them to be special people. Very, very special people. Everybody around, not that they have heard about their story, about the mightiness of their God, about how powerful their God has been to them, how faithful their God has been to them. They have experienced, they have seen it. In fact, this will not be the first time that they have fought battles against them. They have fought against the Moabites when they were crossing the Red Sea and they got to the wilderness. They have fought against the Jebusites, all of these people. So this was a story that was not new to any of them. They knew how mighty and how effective their God could be. So it was a serious victory, a great win for them. It was a great victory for them. And now, anytime an Israelite is captured, even till today, anytime
In fact, to them it's like they have captured 1,000 soldiers. Very intelligent people. They have studied their lives, they have discovered that whatever they lay their hands upon to do, they prosper. They saw a special grace upon their lives. So they see them as a special species of people. And when the Bible is talking about it, the Bible says a chosen generation. Is that what the Bible calls them? That they are chosen generations, special people. So these people are around them. Anytime they hear about Judah, this Israelite, they see them that they carry special grace. So they always want them to be what? To be around them. So number one target, that number one instruction that the king gave to his troops was make sure that you carry the children in whom was no blemish, well favored, ones that are very skillful in wisdom, and cunning in knowledge and understanding science, and such as had ability in them to stand in the king's palace, and whom they might teach the learning and the tongues of the Chaldeans. The learning and the tongues of the Chaldeans. So, èyí fi hàn wá wípé orí ọ̀fẹ́ tí wọ́n rí nínú ayé wọn yìí, ó jẹ́ nǹkan tí wọ́n fẹ́ lò, they want to tap into it. Is a great asset for them. So they want to have a number of them around them in the palace who will be deciding so many things for them, who will be involved in their politics, who will be involved in their governance, who will be involved in so many things because they know they have several ideas to offer. So it was a serious target for them. Make sure that when you don't capture the old ones. I want to say to what but I want to see the age of bring them in, then we'll train them up in our own ways so that we can tap into the resources of God in their lives. So you see the reason why they are very particular about capturing the younger ones. And that was why Daniel now fell a victim of this description that we are talking about. So in that verse 5, the Bible said, and the king now appointed them the daily provision of the king's meat. That was after they've been captured, they've been taken to where? To Babylon. They have been captured now, they've been taken to Babylon now. And now, instead of now imprisoning them, because normally when you capture a prisoner, a war prisoner, the number one thing you would do for them is to first put them in prison. You now begin to extract information from them. But they gathered these ones because their target was to do what? To reframe their life, to reprogram their lives, and now use them as great assets to build their own empire. So, directly as they were bringing them up, they sampled a few of them. One better cinema at random. They picked them at random and said, this one is okay, this one is good looking, this one has a good stature. Yes, this is very intelligent. This can stand before kings, can stand before chiefs. If this one is standing anywhere, nobody will say, we are not seeing somebody. So pick this one, pick this one. Pick. So directly from Babylon, from Judah, they carry them to where? To the palace. So from there, after they have picked them, they say, okay, before we engage them effectively, there is need for us to teach them, to train them in the ways of our own life. We need to teach them, orientate them. Let's change their orientation. Let's change their mindset to suit the purpose for which we have captured them. So they appointed them the daily provision of the king's meat. That's the number one thing. Of course, téèyàn bá jẹ́ indigene bìkan, if you are not privileged to stay where, for example, tó bá gbé ìlú Òkè Ògùn, tí wọ́n bá ń sọ̀rọ̀ anywhere, tó bá ti lè mú omi Òkè Ògùn wọ́n yẹn, tí wọ́n bá ń sọ̀rọ̀ anywhere, you will see it in their words, in their television. That tells you how effective water is. Then nature, how effective nature can be on our life, the kind of influence the environment where an individual has grown up from can have on his personality.
So to change these people, they need to, one, administer their food, administer their water to them. Láti lè yí wọn padà, láti tún wọn ṣe, sí ìfẹ́ ọkàn tí wọ́n sí tí ó wúlò fún wọn kí wọ́n láti kọ́ ṣe. Wọ́n á change omi. So ìgbà mímú àtẹ̀yẹ̀ bá tó bá jẹ́ ẹni tí ó mú omi ìlú kan, in fact you will not find it difficult to speak the language fluently. The language become natural with you. Tó bá jẹ́ ẹni tí ó lọ́wọ́ fún lórí ọ̀fẹ́ tó pọ̀. When he is speaking for that is why you see an Igbo person born in Yoruba land. Once he has taken our water, tí máa ń sọ ìfà yóò gbọ́ Yorùbá ju àwọn akáṣe o tàjẹ́ Yorùbá. So nature has a way, he has a way of making input into the produce of a man. So part of this natural items that we are talking about is food. Oúnjẹ is not just going to be an ordinary one. For them to quickly become effective in some of the areas in which they want to use them, okay, let's administer a better diet as provided by the king to these people. And of the wine which he drank, do you see that? So nourishing them, how many years now? So they are to be under this administration of what? Of food, of water, of wine for 3 years. Ọdún mẹ́ta gbáko. And of course, because they are very young, it is not going to be too difficult for them to quickly do what? To adjust. Àwọn àgbàlagbà tá a bá ti rìnrìn àjò débì kan etí wa máa ń di láti tètè gbọ́ ìdí gbà mí. Àwọn kan wà ṣùgbọ́n àwọn kan tó fún lórí ọ̀fẹ́ yẹn. Irú èdè sì ti máa lọ sẹ́lẹ̀ rẹ̀ sí ìdájọ́ àwọn olóògbé 2-3 months láti máa fi lágbèjì wọn. Ṣùgbọ́n àwọn kan jẹ́ pé kí wọ́n lo 20-40 years bẹ́ẹ̀ lágbèjì wọn sì ṣe it will not affect them in any way. It will not affect them in any way. So these ones are still very young. Once it came, so easily, whatever it is that they want to administer on them, we rub into their lives and make whatever is the intent to become so what? They will act so quickly. So for 3 years, they say, okay, put these ones, put them separate them from other ones that are captured, and begin to administer these meals unto them. Oh yes, separate one, one yato. So now, for Daniel to have rejected it means that it was not just an ordinary meal. Kí Daniel tó lè sọ pé àwọn oúnjẹ yìí kì í ṣe oúnjẹ lásán, àkíló wà nínú oúnjẹ, kì í ṣe oúnjẹ lásán. Ó túmọ̀ sí wípé nǹkan kan ti ṣẹlẹ̀ sí oúnjẹ tí wọ́n sì mọ̀ gẹ́gẹ́ bí ebéèrú. Gẹ́gẹ́ bí ebéèrú. I want to follow that story very well because I'm going to be drawing some lessons from there. And that's why I'm trying to emphasize that as an Hebrew, there are certain things you don't eat. As an Hebrew, there are certain things you don't put your hands into. As an Hebrew, there are certain things or certain places you don't go. As an Hebrew, there are certain things you don't put on. Gẹ́gẹ́ bí ọmọ Hebrew, àwọn oúnjẹ kan wà tó jẹ́ ìwọ̀ fún wọn láti jẹ. Gẹ́gẹ́ bí ọmọ Hebrew, àwọn ibi kan wà tí wọn ò gbọdọ̀ dé, tí wọn ò gbọdọ̀ darapọ̀ mọ́. Gẹ́gẹ́ bí ọmọ Hebrew, àwọn ìrìn àjò kan wà tí wọn ò gbọdọ̀ rìn. Gẹ́gẹ́ bí Hebrew, àwọn iṣẹ́ kan wà tí wọn ò gbọdọ̀ ṣe kí ni tí wọn ò gbọdọ̀ ṣe. So when Daniel and the friends and other ones were going, they went with that mentality. Òye yẹn ni wọ́n gbé kúrò níbo, ni wọ́n gbé kúrò ní Judah. They did not lose that identity. They knew there was a mark on them. They knew there was an identity that they carried. And so, anywhere they were going with that consciousness of the what? Of the mark or of the identity that they carried. So whatever situations and circumstances are now presenting to them is not strong enough to change them or force them to compromise their identity. I believe you are following. We are going to be drawing some lessons from there. Until the end, we will so even when the king now appointed them a daily provision of the king's meat, specially made, delicious one, very expensive meal, for example, now, if I'm taking to House Rock now, maybe my body has become so used to it, I don't know. But now so on there, people now say these young people, totally they still have appetite. No. I want them when they get out and they begin to mention this to their friends. Do you know that they were especially, treated? In fact, they are mentioning it before their friends is enough to give them what? To add to their level, to raise their status. They want to say, so that I want to I remember there was a comment that I was sometimes in the meeting. I forgot to so daily king's meat, daily very expensive assorted food. In fact, at that time, I think you have not experienced that when you are beaten seriously with a mosquito, it will have sucked your blood, it will no longer be able to fly. So easily you get that. So that's a lesson for us today. That you get something and you cannot control your appetite. You become easy target for the enemy. So in verse 5, we are seeing the kind of meal that it was not just ordinary. It was a very expensive one, assorted one, the best of the meal that at that time you could think of was given to them. And don't forget, I said they went with their what? Identity. Don't forget. They went with their identity. So somebody will not ask me, what exactly was now wrong with this meat? We are going to see what happened. But I said they went with their identity, even as a young person. So those of us that are here, have you recognized your identity? Do you know that you have a mark on your life? Do you know that there is God's finger upon you? Do you know that as you move around, the eyes of the Lord is trailing you around? Even as a young person who carries his mark, who carries his identity. And each time you are moving around, he's watching when it comes and when temptations and trial comes. He's watching whether you will at that time drop that identity. So many will drop their identity in the faces of challenges, trials, and temptations. Let's face reality. and of the wine. Is it bad to drink wine? And in fact, this wine that I'm talking about, actually the Bible did not tell us whether it was an intoxicating wine or not. So nourishing them 3 years, they were to be in that school, University of Babylon. Yes. So it was a thorough process that they needed at that time to go through. All because they want to stand before Adeyemo. So when I got to this point, something came to my mind. That if the people of the world will be this serious, will be this meticulous about who stands before them, they are so particular about their futures, their appearance, what they carry, and everything. Of course, since you move away somewhere, let me take somebody to go and represent me anywhere now. Do you know, you will check the profile of that individual? I mean, you will check the profile of that individual. What is the profile of this person? What is the experience? Is it well known? Is it popular? Is it acceptable to everyone? You check you check the details, the certificate, what impact has it made over the community, over the city, worldwide, so that by the time that, because that person is going to start to represent him and about 150 something million Nigerians. So if the people of the world, the king, ethnic king at that time, will be that meticulous to train those who will stand before him, how much more God? Three years, they say, go on that training. For the moment I get to the man, throw you, we get over. A bottle of color in a job, metal. Gbogbo àwọn tẹ́ bá kó láti bá láti dé Judah tàbí Jerusalem tí àwọn padà àwọn. We need to now reorientate you. We need to do empty you of whatever it is that you have brought from there. We will empty you now and pour. We know you are very intelligent. So why is it now difficult for us to release ourselves also to be discipled? About the discipleship process, it's only because in discipleship, you are trained to have kingdom what? Kingdom mentality, kingdom identity, kingdom ways of life. You begin to reason, because what they are trying to do for them is, we want you now to begin to reason as a Babylonian. Is that not what they are trying to do? Say because one say one day, we can see that they are dúró lótìtọ́ ọmọ Hébérù ní. Ṣùgbọ́n nísìnyí, nítorí pé ẹ ti kúrò níbi tí atẹ́gùn Hébérù ti fẹ́ sí i lára. Atẹ́gùn tí ó mọ fẹ́ sí i sì gbọ́dọ̀ yàtọ̀. Náà ibi tí ẹ ti dúró sí i, nígbà tí ẹ bá fẹ́ máa ronú, ẹ gbọ́dọ̀ bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní máa ronú bí kíni o. Bí àwọn ará Bábílónì. Tẹ́ ẹ bá sọ̀rọ̀ sí i, ẹ gbọ́dọ̀ bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní máa sọ̀rọ̀ gẹ́gẹ́ bí kíni o. Àwọn ará Bábílónì. Oúnjẹ tẹ́ mọ jẹ́ sí gbogbo oúnjẹ tẹ́ bá jẹ pátá. Àgbẹ̀bàdà ọ̀sẹ̀ tẹ́ wà láti ìgbà wẹ́wà ní sẹ́ńdálì àti sòyìnbó bouquet and they prepared amala. They prepared amala gbẹ̀gìrì with ewedu. And when they came, we lined up at the table because at that time we were to graduate, so it was a special invitation for them to come. So because we are graduating that day, they lined us up and they asked them to also sit down. They sat down and they prepared this amala gbẹ̀gìrì. So báwo ti wá ó ti mọ àìfà ìlú wa ti dùn káwá àtàkùn kó dára. Àwọn kọ́kọ́ níbẹ̀ àwọn kọ́kọ́ wù wá bá ṣe ń jẹ́ náà. Wọ́n sọ̀wọ́ gàtà. Bọ́n bá tó tá nǹkan tí wọ́n bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí tán tẹ̀sí ẹ̀ wò. Wọ́n ní kékeré máa dùn. Àtọ́lá àwọn ẹ̀sẹ̀ káwé àṣẹ èyí dáadáa. Bí àwọn ọmọ ti yàtọ̀, òkèlè wọn ti yàtọ̀. Wọ́n kọ́kọ́ bẹ̀rẹ̀ pẹ̀lú òkèlè kékeré. Nígbà tó yá wọ́n bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí tóbi ẹ̀rẹ́. Nígbà tó yá ọwọ́ ti ń slow tẹ́lẹ̀ yẹn bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí máa fast. So now our food must be your food now. Our way of life must be your way of life now. The system that you have been used to before will now need to change. And that's exactly how it is when a Christian or a believer becomes born again. Nígbà tí èèyàn bá di àtúnbí, onítọ̀hún yẹn gbọ́dọ̀ wá sí. We will now reorientate his what? His thinking. We will align his thinking now to kingdom way of thinking. Because anyone that will be standing before the King of Kings, not the kings of Babylon this time around, not before Nebuchadnezzar this time around, but before the king who made Nebuchadnezzar, and the one who asked him to go and get grass in the bush. That is before the one that will be standing. So in discipleship, we now try to realign you. We begin to now tell you these are kingdom ways of thinking, kingdom ways of eating, kingdom ways of dressing, kingdom ways of moving, kingdom ways of talking, kingdom ways of relating. But it's very difficult for us. So these people were insisting, but thank God that Daniel secretly, because he remembered that identity and said, there is no any identity that can be given to me that can be as effective as the one that I carry. Because this one that I carry is greater than the one that is in the world. So bí Daniel ṣe jẹ́ ọmọ kékeré tó yẹ síbẹ̀síbẹ̀, ó sì rántí wípé ohun tí mo gbé yìí tàbí ẹni tí mo gbé yìí ó ju ẹni tí bẹ́ẹ̀ ló kiri lọ nínú ayé lọ. So, it's a little best for me because to them that was the best kind of lifestyle that they can give to them. But thank God because Daniel was able to weigh the two and he was able to differentiate which one is original and which one was what? Fake. So he settled for the one that was original and said no to that one that was fake. So what happened? So please come. But he did not present the matter protesting. How did he do it? With every sense of humility, he went before the king's master and said, come. You know why to go up and you know what? Ó fi ìfẹ́ tẹ́ sí wa láti fi sàrà láàrin ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ àwọn èèyàn láti kó gbogbo ẹ̀ wá sí ààfin ọba àti wípé irú àwọn ayé wọn dìde láti máa bo ọba owó. Ṣùgbọ́n sísá ohun tí ẹ fẹ́ ṣe fún wa yìí yóò lòdì sí ìrìn àjò tí a ti yú sí wọn. Give us that verse 5 again and then read to verse 6. And the king appointed them a daily provision of the king's meat and of the wine which he drank. So nourishing them 3 years, that at the end thereof, what was the intention now? What was their agenda? Let's read that place together. 1, 2, go. That at the end, we are reading the last part, the last phrase, the last sentence in this verse 5. Oh yeah, let's go together. That... Do you see that? That at the end, therefore, they might stand before the king. Ìjọ Ọlọ́run, is that our plans? Is that our agenda? Is that our intentions? I was giving a lecture or a teaching somewhere, and I said, God will never borrow a vessel. He will make his own. And for whatever numbers of years it will cost him, he's never in a hurry. What did I say? He will never go and borrow. God will never borrow a vessel. God deliberately, he will do what? He will make his own. Those of us are praying students. Customized. They will check my lips. They will check my lips. They will check my diaphragm. Then they will ask me to, they will check the level of the pressure that I can give into my mouthpiece. So when they produce, it's a customized one, it's going to be very costly because I will have to tell them at the factory in between what you say, so they will do everything that mouthpiece is going to be customized for me. So timber is going to flow so freely without stress, without any problem. But if I put it down and somebody else is come there, carry it and wants to blow it, it will give that person a problem. Kí ló fi lè problem? Torí wípé èmi ni wọ́n ṣe àwòrán mi ni wọ́n lò tí wọ́n fi ṣe. Do you know that when a child has been well formed, or when a Christian has been well formed, wherever he goes, it's going to be so difficult for him to be contaminated. In fact, the world will lose interest in him. Family will lose interest in him. Kò sí ìkájà ẹsẹ̀ lẹ́yìn òde gbọ́ ẹgbẹ́ ìfilẹ̀ tiẹ̀ ló bẹ́ẹ̀ tó gbóná gbàgbà ìbò ló ṣe kéde ibi tó wọ́n gbà wọ́n ní. Because we are no longer used to the system of the world. So the church of God needs to now be so deliberate and so intentional to build up vessels, instruments to handle God's things. Àgbọ́dọ̀ bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní máa gbìyànjú káwọn mọ̀ọ́mọ̀ máa gbé ìgbésẹ̀ pé àwọn tí Ọlọ́run máa lò káwọn tí àwọn ẹni tó wà ní ayé bá lè sọ pé no, we must change their orientation, we must change this one, we must change the system, we must cause them out of their line with our own purpose, our own goal, ambitions and everything. They must be customized to the way we do things in the palace. If that will be their own what, their own mandate over their lives. And the reason and the purpose for which they are asking them to go through that years of training, then the church must not do less. The church must not do less. So in that chapter 1, we are seeing that Daniel, he did not forget his identity. He went away, moving around with his identity. And then we saw that in that verse 1 to 5, the agenda, the curriculum, went about the curriculum of their training for that 3 years. And what is behavioral evaluation. Objective. So they have a set for them. He said to run for 3 years. Now, that is the education in Babylon. And don't forget, they wanted to force them into that mode. It was a caste mode. Just exactly as the world would like to carry a Christian and squeeze him and force him into the mode. That is a mode that the world system has created. They would like to force us to key into it. But it takes a believer, a Christian, who is so conscious of his identity to say no. Now, what are the traits tonight in Daniel's life? Kí wọ́n á ní ẹ̀kọ́ tí a ní láti kọ́ nínú ayé Daniel? His godly background helped him so much. He had a very wonderful background, godly background. Ó jẹ́ ọmọ tí a kọ́ tó ṣe kí ni ó bá wọn máa ṣe máa ń sọ tó gbẹ̀kọ́. Torí pé àwọn ọmọ mi wà tó jẹ́ pé akọ́ wọn ṣùgbọ́n wọn ṣe kí ni ó. Ẹ̀gbọ́n ọ̀dọ́ akọ́ gbàgbọ́ yìí, akọ́ ẹlẹ́kọ̀ọ́ ṣùgbọ́n akọ́ gbàgbọ́. Do you know that as it is like that in the world system, it's also the same thing in spiritual? There are some Christians. Bí ọ̀bẹ wọn bá lọ sókè nígbà àgbà tí bá ń padà bọ̀lẹ̀, kí ni ó fi lélẹ̀ o? They are not ready to grow. And it is growth is not about we splitting or a teacher splitting the brain of a child and putting the knowledge there. No. Personal effort. Kéèyàn kọ́ mọ́tò lè wọ̀ wé ìgbà tí tíṣà bá tó la ọpọlọ rẹ̀ tó bá tó kó àwọn ẹ̀kọ́ yẹn sí lórí. Tí wọ́n bá kọ́ nígbà tó yóò fi sílẹ̀ nínú kíláàsì tó náà bá sì délé kí ló sọ when he gets back home, what will he do? He will open the book and now do a revision. Ṣùgbọ́n ní sísá àwọn ọmọ wa ṣe o. Àwọn àtẹ̀fọ́ gbàgbé. Even in the class, the teacher is not watching enough. They are playing if they are allowed to come with phones to the class. They sneak it inside. Want to know when you phone? You see that. They will sneak their phones inside, and as the teaching is going on, the lecture is going on, they will be very busy. So how you work with somebody learn like that? So that is a serious distraction for them. It's the same thing with a believer. Coming to church is not what leads to growth. Sitting at the Bible study is just part of it, but it's just a very minor part of it. Self-effort is what makes a Christian to grow as fast as God desires us to grow. Kéèyàn náà gbìyànjú láti máa sípá ọmọ tó bá sípá náà rẹ̀ sí kí o nìyà rẹ̀. Now àwọn táwa jóbi a ní iṣẹ́ sí lórí àwọn ọmọ wa. Daniel did not just carry that identity. He was not just conscious of that identity when he got to Babylon. He has been made to be conscious of it from where? From Judah, from home. Ilé ní àtìkú ẹ̀sọ́ òde. Kọ́ ọmọ ní ọ̀nà tí ó gbà. Nígbà tó bá dàgbà tó ní pé kò ní ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀. Ó ní ìlú náà ti bá fún mi. Train up a child the way he should go. When he is grown up, he will not do what? He will not depart from it. So what we are going to say now is that Daniel and the rest of them, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These three of them. Let's check it. I think we have Daniel was Bethesda. That was his Hebrew name. Daniel became Bethesda. The original name was Daniel. So later when he got there, because they wanted to change their identity for them to fit into their purpose. You see what I'm saying now? They changed their names. Ananias became what? Let's read verse 7. It's there on the screen. It's there. Unto whom the prince of the eunuchs gave names. Even after he has consented not to continue to feed them with the meats and the meals of the king. They negotiated that. They apply wisdom. So as a Christian, when you want to present any matter, you do it with every sense of humility. That is when you can have your way. So what is the name next to them? For he gave unto Daniel the name. Now unto Hananiah. Are you following? He's on the screen, oh. And to Mishael, what? Meshach. And to Azariah, Abednego. These are the three friends of Daniel. The three of them, they united together. So we are looking at what are some of the lessons we can learn from them. We discover that this background, spiritual background, helps him so much. And that was why he was still able to stand and was, he didn't have to feel duro, ti omi, ati ji Babylon officially o ti o fi gbe lo. That was why he was still able to stand afloat the water. That was why he was not drowned. He was able to stay alive, even in the midst of that challenge. He did not compromise his identity. He influenced other friends. They were able to be that close, and because they were united, that's another thing we need to learn from them. Purity and sanctity. That's number two. ìwà mímọ́ àti ìwà pípé. So purity refers to being free from moral or spiritual contamination. The Bible says we are in the world, but we are not of what? Of the world. What is the meaning of that? Who can explain that? The believers are in the world, but they are not of the world. Can you read this one? We should stay away from what the world is doing. That is what? That is bad. God cannot create another world. I remember a friend was giving his testimony when he gave his life to Jesus, and because he didn't want to be contaminated, he didn't want to be seeing all of those useless things on the street, he said he ran to the village. The last house to the bush. But one day as he was going, he woke up and everybody started going to the farm. So as it is in the village, so contact without contamination. That's the meaning. You will have contact with the world. There is no way you come away from them. You will deal with them. Every business is about. You will relate together. So that is contact. But you must not be what? Contaminated by them. It is rather you contaminate them, they become like you. You must not become like them. So Daniel was very conscious of that. When he got to Babylon, he went to that identity and said, no, yes, though I'm still very young, I know there is a mark of God upon my life, there is a finger of God upon my life. And so I am here in another world, in another place entirely. So I will have contact with them, but they must not contaminate. And that's the meaning. That is what God is expecting from us as believers. So purity and sanctity, it involves maintaining moral cleanliness all the time, while sanctity emphasizes living a life dedicated to God. Only purpose to be sanctified. It was sanctification. Iyasoto abi. Iyasoto. Iyasinima. Being sanctified. Kilo sanctify. We are sanctified through what? Through the blood of Jesus. Àti ẹ̀jẹ̀ Jésù yà wá sí mímọ́. Into sọ wá di mímọ́ nìyẹn. Into sọ wá di pípé nìyẹn. So this place is not holy, or it's not pure, because it is a place where we worship every day. But because the presence of God is here, and we have consecrated it, we have dedicated it to God. Anything that is dedicated to God has been sanctified. Ohun tí a bá ti lè yà sọ́tọ̀ tó bá ti jẹ́ ti Ọlọ́run àti kíni o, ó ti di mímọ́. Torí náà àwọn ohun èlò mímọ́ Ọlọ́run a ò gbọdọ̀ máa tọwọ́ kíni mọ́ o. That was what sanctification means. So it demonstrated a life of sanctity even in the midst of serious provision. Then number 3, humility and courtesy. You see the way he drove home his protest. He did not go and employ people. Let's go to them, we are not going to do this. But rather, how did he do it? He went humbly to that man and said, come, please, help us with this. And so humility and courtesy. Then number 3, which is the last one, team player. He was a very effective team player. Number 4, yeah. He was a very, very effective team player. He played when they were to fight or they were to request to be exempted from that food, he gathered his friends. They went there together. So they went there. Number 2,
when the king asked them to go and arrest all the astrologers, all the wise men, because they could not interpret the king's what? The king's dream. And he asked them in order to go and kill all of them. He did not gather his people to go and protest. No. How did he do it? He went, he gathered his friends and said, let's go and pray. And asked the king for a few more opportunities of this. And he went before the king and said, say your power is a problem, I'll give you a few days. And as a team, they went into their closet and they trusted God in the place of prayer. And they prayed, and the Lord revealed to them the dream that he gave to the king and gave the interpretation to him. So that tells us the kind of success we can have when we walk as a team. So that is number 4 lessons that we can draw from the life of Daniel. Now, I said as an Hebrew, as an Hebrew, I emphasized that very, very effectively when I was starting. That to him, when you got there, you remember and you realize that as an Hebrew, there are certain food you must not eat. As an Hebrew, there is a way of life, a style of life that is expected of you. So as a Christian, as a child of God, that is conscious of the grace of God upon his life, conscious of the blood shed for his sake, conscious of the mark that has separated him from the world. There are certain things you must not do. There are certain areas you must not go. There are certain ways you must not dress. There are certain things you must not say. There are certain things, so many things. As long as the Holy Spirit is calling us as my son, so today, by the grace of God, we are going to run it up from here. We have learned a serious lesson from this young man. Not because it was so easy for them to make all the decisions that they made, but yes, they were driven by the identity that they carried. There was a time I was going on a program with the Deeper Life people. And this guy, that was one of the Deeper Life. We were going to Ibadan. So the driver was just driving about here in this space. He will put his head. If he sees another space here, he will put his head. These people were so, they could not contain it. Come on, driver. We have a demo. I don't go. They started shouting to remind him. They have an identity. So when you are stepping into anywhere, always be conscious that you carry a what? An identity. When you want to say something, always be conscious of the fact that you carry an identity. So which means what informs what to do and what tells us what to do must be the identity that we carry. Ojo sọ wá sí òwúwa, ojo sọ nǹkan tí a ó sọ, òun ni tí a ó máa lò nínú àlùfáàtì in our homes, in our marriages. Ohun tó gbọ́dọ̀ máa ràn wá lọ́wọ́ láti máa gbé ìgbésí ayé wa lọ́kọ àti láya, òun nígbà tí a bá rántí ohun tí a gbé rú sórí. So gbogbo nǹkan tí a sọ nígbà tí a sọ sílẹ̀ ló sì brought it back to the fact that if you are not a Christian, you can build a Christian home because it's a Christian home. So if you are not a Christian, you can build a Christian home because it's a Christian home. So you can only build a Christian home when you are a Christian. And when we are saying Christians, we are not talking of them. We are not talking of bearing job. We are not talking of going to church. And we are not talking of going to fishing. We are talking of people who are conscious of the identity that they carry on their heads. And when you are ní ọmọ Ọlọ́run, àwọn yẹn pè ní àtẹ̀lé Kristi nínú gbogbo ìṣe. May the Lord help us so that this teaching will make a better Christian out of us.
a better follower, a better disciple out of us in the name of Jesus. You know you are blessed when I see you celebrate Jesus.